Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with me today. And are we going to dive into, I think for me is a fun topic. I know it's maybe not necessarily a fun topic for everyone else, but I think that over the years of going through things and realizing that fear, especially, right, is just a part of human nature. It's a part of something we always experience. Honestly, we experience it from the time that we're born up until probably the time that we die, right? It's not going anywhere. And so trying to avoid it, just in my personal opinion, makes things difficult. So I'm super excited to have this conversation today. Sabrina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I used to not be a big fan of fear. To be honest, I'm working on a fear forward right now. Still not loving it. I don't know if it gets easier. It does get easier. But yes, thank you for having me. And what an important topic. It's literally changed my life on how I approach fear and look at fear and welcome it. So I'm glad we get to talk
Mm.
about it today. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I love that you said that it does get easier. I think it's just like, right, a muscle that you continually work out. It's still going to
Yeah.
be fatigued occasionally and stuff like that, but so,
And you're still going to show up scared.
oh, absolutely.
Spoiler alert for someone who has to leave early. If you learn nothing from today, it's not getting rid of fear or not feeling fear. It's about learning how to get really good at being scared and showing up anyway. That's it.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
telling yourself, I do scary things. And it's starts really, really small and you get better at it and better at it. And just, I can't tell you how many times I've had to just post the thing or have the conversation or get the
Hmm.
meeting and just do it so scared the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was funny enough, you're talking about just getting used to the fear and almost kind of making it your friend, right? And I was
Yeah.
just watching a podcast with, and of course, his name has left me, but it's a gentleman that does a lot of free climbing.
Okay.
And he's been all over the place, like skyscrapers and all the things, no ropes, no nothing. He had a whole conversation about like, everybody's like, oh, you must not have any fear. You don't. He was like, absolutely not. Like, I feel it
Right.
every single time. It's become such a normal for me. He's
Yeah.
like, you push yourself to that limit, you know that it's going to be there. He's like, I've had panic attacks on the side of a mountain. First off, panic attack on the side of a mountain is not something I want to try out. So
Right.
I'm good at taking fear to certain extents. That's probably not on that list, but it was a really cool conversation because you don't think about it, especially when you see somebody that maybe is doing something like that, which is so dangerous,
Right.
right? The wrong move, wrong slip, and I think that there's this conception that, like you said a minute ago, you get over it, right?
Right.
You just don't, you ignore it or it doesn't exist anymore. And when I get to that day and it's like, that's not the reality of it, right?
Right. No, not even close. I mean, you do start to, for me at least, I can only talk about myself and because this whole kind of, fear forward is what I call it, which is just I don't really care about the fail forward. I don't really care if I fail. I just want to do things that scare me on purpose. I just want
Ooh.
to get good at being scared. Because what I've noticed is, first of all, it's kind of like a compass. What you were saying is when something scares me, it's like, ooh, there's a reason. Why am I scared? Am I scared about looking like an idiot in public? Am I scared about revealing something about myself that I kind of want to hide to myself and other people? Am I scared about maybe failing or, rejection, whatever it might be? Um, you start leaning into that and going, okay, if it scares me, I should probably do it. And what I do is I create a list
Mm.
on my phone because there's lots of things, turns out, that scare me. But you do kind of, I love how you said that. It becomes a friend of yours. It becomes a friend like, okay, you're trying to show me something. I guess I'm going to just look at this and I'm going to try to just accept that it doesn't matter what the outcome is. Because a lot of times, in fact, my entire career now is based on the fact that I used to be really scared of public speaking. And so one of my fear forwards was doing, public speaking and starting my podcast. My first podcast, I was going to do 20 minutes live. It wasn't even going to be a podcast. I was just going to do these 20-minute lives. I was so terrified. I didn't show up to the first one. I had someone else do it
Oh
for me.
no.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't. I mean, my first speech on stage, I literally didn't even get up on stage. I did this speech from the bottom of the stage. And I was so scared, I didn't even realize I hadn't gotten on stage until the end. So
Oh
it's the most amount of fail. But it is now my job. And next week, I'm going to get in front of about 8,000 people and I'm going to talk to them and hopefully give someone enough courage to say, I'm going to be somebody who does things when they're scared. And so, what used to be my largest fear is now my career. And I never intended it to be. So, those fails actually led me to where I am now. And I've learned to kind of start growing into myself. Not that
no.
I'm ever like, it's not really a destination. It's kind of this fun path, a journey, if you want to use the most cliche word, to be on. And you just really never know where it's going to take you. You have no,
Hmm.
for me at least, I mean, I've had no clue that this was going to change my entire life and just my own wow, sense of self of who I really am.
Oh, I love that. Oh, well, you're going to have so much fun, Sabrina. Okay, so speaking of that, then let's kind of backtrack a little bit and let everyone know like who you are, but how on earth you even got into the space of talking about fear and public speaking, right? Especially having
Right.
such a fear, like you said, on it to begin with. I want everyone to kind of I'm always fascinated too by the path that we end up choosing or we get taken down when we step into different directions. Anyway, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. And I've stepped into a lot of direction and I keep doing it. Apparently, it's who I am, and I just never saw it or appreciated it. Who knows? Well, I've had a lot of shifts and turns, and I think on paper, I looked like somebody who did embrace fear, who did have otherwise a fairly successful life, and but I didn't realize until a couple years ago that fear was really dictating everything I did and didn't do.
Mm.
Everything. So I started a career as a behavior profiler and analyst. So really studying, understanding why do people do what they do, not what they say they're going to do, but why do they do what they do, and how do you get them to do more of what you want them to do and less of what you don't want them to do. So I was working with school districts and hospitals, and primarily with children or adolescents with special needs and really understanding behavior. Built a company, sold that, went on to law school, built a law firm, practiced federal law, as a litigator for about 13 years, then got into tech. I mean, really pivoted in the most dramatic ways, built and sold a couple tech companies around AI and go to market. And really working with like literally the largest companies in the world that ingest the internet 4 times a day and helping build their strategy and messaging and how they're engaging people. And so again, like on paper, it looked like, okay, she's got everything kind of figured out. But I was just scared. I was scared to know who I was. I was scared to challenge things. I was scared to even post things on social media because I didn't want to like be too divisive and insult people or, detract clients from my companies. And so
Hmm.
like story wise, that was me. That was really, I have the story, but I didn't the best way I've been able to find to say it is I wasn't able to like truly grow into who I am and evolve continuously in the most authentic way because I was scared. And that was so multidimensional and showed up in so many places in my life I didn't even realize. And I was in a therapy session, and I was just so sick of talking about things. And I was like, when am I going to just do it? And so at that point, I was scared of dating. And so I got on an app and I just decided I don't even care if I like this person. I'm just going to go on a date. And so like a couple days later, I went on a date and didn't like him. That's fine. Very nice guy. I hope you're well. I don't know where you are. Uh, but and just started doing things that scared me. And so that
Mhm.
was kind of the catalyst. I had no idea it would turn into a fear forward and get picked up, and I would do book deals and speaking engagements. And I mean, I had no idea, no clue where it would take me.
Isn't it interesting how when we lean into things in our personal life, how it like swivels everything in like a completely different direction? It's almost like getting slung off of the what was it? Not a merry-go-round. Yes, merry-go-round. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it's
yeah,
called. I
yeah.
didn't think about that.
Yes.
And you're like, yay! Oh.
Bye. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And when you said it, it's so like warm and fuzzy and right. It is like a friend because a friend wants what's best for you. And we don't really think of fear like a friend who wants what's best for you, but it has changed every single part of my life in the best possible, biggest way you could ever imagine. I mean, and financially, friendships, personal, security, validation, everything, it's these little pockets. It shows up like a real friend would and
Mhm.
really helps become sort of like a compass or a guide or a map and goes, maybe you should look over here. There might be something really awesome over here waiting for you if you're just willing to try, just willing to be scared and show up anyway.
And I think it's interesting on the concept of fear as a compass, because most people, when we think of the word fear, already has a negative connotation,
Yeah.
right? Like it's in your movies, it's all over the place. I mean, we were just talking about social media, and
Yeah.
there's fear everywhere.
Still fear
And
there. Yeah.
yeah, and we have such a negative mindset with it, right? That we're not same thing with anger, right? Anger, a lot of people, for me, it was crying. Crying was a big one,
Oh,
right? Because
yeah.
that was to me that was a sign of weakness. So I
Weakness.
had a
Yeah.
really hard time, especially with the abuse and stuff like that. You didn't show that because you didn't want the other person to be able to hurt you. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to me when we get to a point in our life of basically taking in words that are used all the time and then shifting the perspective
Oh,
of the meaning for that actual word, which is
yeah.
honestly has become like a favorite thing of mine of like if I find a word and I don't like it, I'm the first one to Google it and be like, what is the actual definition? Where did it come from? Because it's so
I love
interesting
that.
to me
Yeah.
to see how many words we use, but in a completely different realm. But
Yeah.
it's just become the way society has labeled it or the way that people have talked about it. So it's become this belief system, right? That we
Yeah.
have grown up with. I'm sure that most of us haven't grown up to be absolutely fearless and run into everything that is there,
Right.
right? Like your parents teach you from a young age, like, oh, be careful. Oh, don't get hurt here. Or if you're going to
Right.
do this, be careful that you don't do this. Or, like there's always been those things which are tied to fear. But I think it's really interesting on the concept of, like you were saying earlier, if you actually listen to it, it
Hmm.
could be there because it's wanting you to be aware of what's going on and look at it differently instead of, oh, okay, I'm fearful of that. So absolutely, I know I'm not supposed to do it, da 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 da.
Right.
Obviously, we
Right.
know if it's jumping off a cliff or something, you're probably not supposed to do it. But it's really interesting when you learn to sit with yourself, to sit with the feelings. I think that that's a big
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
Learning to sit with the
Yeah.
actual feelings
That's a fear
that I
forward
used
of
to
mine. Yes.
really.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think for a lot of people too.
Absolutely.
I want to fix, I want to intellectualize, I want to understand the behavioral psychology behind it, but to sit in a feeling is terrifying sometimes. Yeah,
Oh,
a good
100%.
call. Yeah,
100%. But I think it's really neat to learn to sit with it and ask the questions, right? Like, why am I fearful?
yeah,
And listen to the answers that come up. So I'm curious to know, as you were leaning into fear and doing this fear forward, what were some of the questions that you would ask yourself? What did you use to help you start to understand that fear is actually there to help you versus it's
yeah.
here to tell me don't touch it?
All of this was so backwards. I'm not going to pretend like this was, and I have like degrees and certifications in this. It should be so obvious when they say hindsight's 2020. But that's why I don't sell this because it's like this is free. This should be so obvious. It's just something I learned, so I just share it with people because it changed my life. I mean, everything. I can't tell you enough about how much it changed. I mean, my partner, where I live, my job, my financial situation, my friends, everything, the car I drive, my hobbies. I was scared of failing in public, so I started doing stand-up comedy. My best friend now, I met her through stand-up comedy. It's
How cool is that?
unbelievable. It changes everything because, to your point, I just knew that things were scary to me, like I would go to post something on social media and I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to look ugly. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look, polarizing. I don't want to, or a big one of my first fear forwards. And by the way, everyone, all of my agents, my, PR folks, they're like, please stop telling this story, which means I will never stop telling this story. They're like, please don't, because it's not relatable and I don't care. That's the point. I'm telling you my story. You get to figure out your story. Is I was very scared of how I would show up and look in a meeting. I was very scared. I was terrified because I am this millennial female with all these, kind of boomer men in these rooms, these big executive board meetings with Google and Amazon and Dell and massive, like the largest companies in the world. And they're paying me all this money and they're, hiring my companies. And so one of my first fear forwards was showing to one of these meetings without makeup and then showing up to one of those meetings
Interesting.
in a sweater and showing still same person, same brain, but my body, my appearance, that approval, that was almost like a currency. And so all I knew was when here's how it happened or how it showed up for me is I would have a meeting and I'd go, "Oh crap, I have to get ready. I don't have enough time." That oh crap, and then I would write it down. Okay, why was I scared that I couldn't look a certain way when I went to a meeting? Or, I was at this retreat for this, I consult for a lot of very large banks. They'll ask, when they're like their advisors will come in and be able to ask me questions and stuff like that about where I think the market's going on AI or what, usually it's AI right now. Um, and so I'm at one of these functions and they have all these like little kind of team building events and they had an extreme mountain biking event. I've never broken a bone because I'm so terrified of like getting hurt and, whatever. I mean, I barely have had cavities in my life because I'm just so we can dig into that another time. All the therapists listening to you is like, I know what that is. And so do I. I'm getting there. Add that to the list. Even being this honest on a podcast. I mean, just being able to share my story because I for all these reasons. So whenever I go, oh crap, what, and I go, okay, then write it down. That's a fear. And I just started doing them one by one. And I remember the first time I posted a picture, I was so worried about what I look like. So I posted a picture on LinkedIn. I've got like 30,000 followers. And all executive clients, friends, right? Like the most I want to look perfect and be perfect. A picture of me like ugly crying, like ugly like the worst. And that's, one of the first things that went viral for me and again changed my life because it was like I'm just going to post this and I'm going to turn off my phone and I have no idea what's going to happen. Or I'm just going to say this really embarrassing thing about how I totally messed up and I'm just going to let people troll me or people say she's an idiot or people say she's great or and just be okay in that. Like you said,
Hmm.
kind of just sit in it. So to answer your question, I didn't have this perfect formula. The formula found me or somehow evolved. Um, it was just when things scared me, I just did it. And I just went, yep, okay, I failed. Yep, I got my first public speaking gig and I didn't get on stage. That was very dumb and just radical grace and go, I can laugh at it or be mortified by it, but I'm just a human and I don't know how to do all these things. Um, but I'm going to do it scared and I'm going to just be honest with myself and other people. So that's the sort of formula. That's how it evolved for me. And then it would kind of show these lessons to me or like I remember the first time the CTO of this massive company like Fortune 10 calls me and says, "Hey, I've been watching your stuff. I'd love to bring you in to come talk to my team and frankly, I'd love to just get coffee with you." And I remember thinking, "Oh my God." I mean, and now we go on like trips together and retreats together. And it's like it just allows you to show up as your most authentic self, which turns out
Mhm.
is the least perfect self for me.
Which is the best, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Very
the I think
freeing.
it's
Very
is
freeing.
very freeing. And I think that first off, thank you for sharing your story. Funny enough, I can totally relate to that, like 1000%, because I came from the medical industry. And so
Ah,
you have your doctors and all the things, and you're supposed to look a certain way. And when I got into real estate for a little while, I did the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have the
very
suits and
much.
I have to have the all the jackets and blah 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 blah. And then I slowly started realizing nobody gives a crap.
Right.
Like my
Or if they do,
clients
they're
work
not your
with me.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Like all my clients would show up like half dressed or paint on them or something, and I started doing the same thing in real estate. Like, okay, maybe I'll just like wear a t-shirt and some decent pants and just kind of playing around with it. But I used to come in full face of makeup. I would
Yeah.
have, the suit on and everything, sweating my butt off in the
Why
summer. Like, oh God, why
am
do people
I
do
doing
this?
this? Yeah.
And
This is
and
my
it
one
was
existence and I'm uncomfortable. Like, what? Adulting's hard enough. We already talked about that. Like, why am I'm doing this to myself and wondering why I'm tired at the end of the day because I'm
absolutely
faking life. That's exhausting. People are like,
so
I don't know why I'm so
exhausting.
tired. I need more drugs. I need more coffee. I need more. It's like, no, stop faking your life. Enjoy whatever you can out of it and show up as
Hmm.
yourself. It's actually really comforting for other people too.
It really is. I think the more
Yeah.
that I have been honest, the more that people have opened up to me. And it's
Yes.
probably one of my favorite compliments is like, I know that whenever I meet you, no matter where I meet you, you're always going to be the same as what I've seen everywhere else, right?
Wow.
That's one of my
Yeah.
absolute favorite compliments,
Wow.
which is so funny because I think 8, 9 years ago, there's absolutely no way that would have ever been a compliment. Like that would have never happened. I'm just saying, like I
See?
was very professional. I was who I needed to be in that space, and then I was mom outside of that space. And then if we were going to be in public with other people and kids' friends, like I became that different person. Like it is
I'm
so
tired for you.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Like you try to fit yourself into all of these squares
Yeah.
and you're a circle and you're like, it's not working. I don't understand what's wrong.
Right.
Just hit it
Right.
harder. I'm sure that one of
Right.
these days
Right.
it'll
Because then I'll be
work.
loved. Then I'll be good enough. Then I won't be rejected. Then I'll be fill in the, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
why going extreme mountain biking or showing up to a meeting without makeup matters. That's why I tell that story. Because whatever it is to you, that's what's stopping you. And that
Mhm.
you can be a square. There are lots of squares out there, and you can be a circle. There are lots of circles out there. And when you get to it, just becomes easier. It's not
Mhm.
easy. Life is, tell me, I can't wait to talk to the person who's like, my life is so easy. But it becomes so much easier, and you have so much more energy, and you feel so much more fulfilled and
Yeah,
accepted, and so much more grace to yourself, which allows you then to extend it to other people. It really
absolutely.
is it's a force multiplier. And that's why when I say these dumb stories of like, well, I didn't wear mascara, boo-hoo, it's like, no, but it really was hard for me. And it was. And I'm
Hmm.
just going to accept that it was hard for me because it might be hard for someone else or for someone to
Absolutely.
feel like they can show up as their best, most authentic self, whether it's tattoos or makeup or dressing a certain way, or it could be anything. It could be anything.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that you can be honest with yourself, the easier it becomes to be honest with other people. And for me, one of the side effects of dealing with fear was that I had more self-confidence. And I had more self-confidence in that space than
Right.
like any compliment anyone had ever gave me, which by the way, I was fantastic at like rejecting compliments, right? Be like, oh no, no, thank you. You're so great. Oh no, it's just because I do like, the
Right.
first one to like
Right. Because
turn
then
it
you
back
owe them
around.
something, right? Yeah. Yeah. And now I got to pay you back on that. And how now, yeah, it's that power
Yeah.
imbalance. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I can
So
totally see why.
so I think that another thing that comes when we talk about fear, and I'd love your take on this, is judgment. I don't know if you had any effect with this, but I feel like a lot of things that we are also fearful are embedded in how we judge or perceive ourselves to others.
Ooh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm interested to know, like, did you ever notice when you were doing your fear forward that maybe things that you thought about yourself or maybe others kind of felt like it started dissipating? Did that make a difference to you at all?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was a big as a people pleaser, recovering people pleaser, I'll say, as a perfectionist. I mean, the perfectionism ran so deep. As early as like maybe 6 or 7 that I could remember as just being such
Mm,
a perfectionist. So judgment was a big deal, was a big, big one for me. And I'll tell you, as a behavior profiler, folks who judge other people outwardly a lot, for me, it was more inward, but here's kind of a good tell is if they're judging a lot of people outwardly, like, "Oh, I can't believe you dress like that, or oh, I can't believe your hair's like that, or whatever, those people tend to have the lowest self-esteem. They're judging other people so that you don't look at them. And for me, or it sounds like with you too, dodging compliments was we were judging ourselves. Like, I'm not worthy enough. I'm not
mm.
enough. And what I've learned, I have a formula for this now, which is it's my job to show up as my best, number one, best, number two, most authentic self. That's it. That's my job. That's the rule. It's my job to show up as my best, most authentic self. And then it's their job to figure out what to do with it.
Ooh.
That's it. So I get to say, because I also would ruminate, like, oh God, I can't. And it was just, ruminating. Um, and so I realized, like, okay, was I my best? Did I get the right sleep? Did I prepare for the meeting? Did I yada yada to my best ability? Not
Hmm.
best today, not forever, not compared to someone else. My best ability. Was I my best? And then it was my authentic self, my most authentic self. If not, okay, I can be more authentic next time. But now I have a game plan and I can stop the thinking because now, like, that part's done. You can check that box and now it's on them to figure out what to do with it. I
Hmm.
don't like everyone. Not everyone has to like me. That's okay. I don't need their approval. I need to be able to be okay with me. And for me, it was just being able to show up whatever that looked like when I was scared, when I was sad, sit in those feelings, just show up in those feelings and then let everybody else figure out what to do with it. Not that I was perfectly right, not that I'm not making mistakes, but when you can give yourself kind of that such like radical grace and forgiveness, it allows you the space to grow where you need to even be able to see and like reflect in areas like, you know what? I think they were wrong. I'm good with me here. Or you know what? I need to grow in this. I am a little too fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the rules that I, developed and now use when I do face judgment. Um,
Hmm.
for me, though, I didn't struggle as much with judging other people. I wanted to make them happy. It was the people pleasing part.
Yeah,
I'm curious,
absolutely.
was it similar for you or different? What's your
Mine
experience?
was both.
Oh, okay.
Mine was both.
Okay.
So I was very judgy on myself. I was the oldest of three girls. I was the one that's supposed to get things done right,
Yep.
all those things. So there was always that perfectionism there. And then being in an abusive relationship, there's always drama. And so that became my life, right? And so it
Oh,
became this judging other people because my ex was always judging people. And it just became, I turned my personality to match his. is
Ah,
what it ended up
okay.
being, right?
Yeah,
10 years in a relationship trying to make things work, and not knowing what to do. I tell people a lot, like I completely lost who I actually was. And
right.
even though I still wanted to help people and I still did that, I was very quick to make a judgment. I was very quick to talk about
Mm,
someone behind their back or make a statement. And it was something I dealt with for a really long time. And then I actually had this epiphany a few years ago that a lot of times when I was judging people, like you were saying, toward like even in my head, like, God, why would they dress that way? I realized that that really was toward myself. Now, some of that also had to do with beliefs in the way that I was raised, right? I was raised to be modest, I was raised to be covered.
same.
And
Yep.
then my ex was the times 10 on that, right? Like, oh God, why would you wear that? Why are you showing this off? Why do you have your pants so tight? Like anything that could be, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that became a piece of me as well. And so while I was judging, I was also judging myself. I just didn't realize that that's what I was doing until I
Right.
really sat with the comments that were in my head one day and I was like, wait a minute. I just made a comment about that, but I just did the same thing about something that I did. So mine was both, which was really,
Wow.
really interesting. And it took me a really long time. And one of the first things that I did to help with this, and this is going to sound so like cheesy, but I would get on social media and I would find people that I followed or maybe I'd met online, or something like that. And if I saw that they were celebrating something, I would make myself comment on it, but not comment to be like, yay, congratulations. I would try to put myself in like, you know what? Hell yes for you. And
Yeah.
I would try to put that energy into it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then I turned into the hype girl. Like it's one of my favorite things to do, like, which is
That's
so
a fear
funny.
forward. That's it. I'm telling you, when you just do things that scare you, it is crazy. It's that kind of stuff. You were like, "What fear forward?" And I'm like, "Well, if you're afraid that you are hyping someone else, or that's exactly what a fear forward is. Is okay. What can I do to like be scared and do it anyway? That's so perfect. And the fact that it changed so much that you're now the hype girl and you love it. I love
I
that.
really am. And it's so funny because my husband and I sat down, we had a conversation about this one night a couple years ago when I started doing it. And he was like, oh, you know what, though? He's like, I feel like that's so fake. And I was like, you know what? It's really not though.
Right.
And
Right.
now that it's become such a part of me, it's like the first thing that I think about doing, which is so funny because I literally just put a story up this morning about this. And I was like, I used to not be that person. I used to judge and I was scrolling through socials and one of the groups that I'm in, I noticed at the top it said, "Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. I just launched my community." I was like, "Hell yes, who is this?" And I
Yeah.
opened up the feed and I was like, "Oh, that's me."
Yes. Boy,
Yes,
isn't
go
that the
me.
universe or God or whatever you believe in saying, isn't that something?
Isn't that something? So
Because
all I
at the
could
end of
do
the day,
is
you were
giggle to
judging yourself
myself.
and now you get to hype yourself. That's so
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Like I
Yeah.
laugh at my own
Yeah.
jokes. I laugh at my own goofiness. Like I will
Yes.
watch my stories now and be like, "That's fantastic."
Yes. 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 I love that. I am so glad you shared that. That is fear forward in a nutshell. That's exactly what we should be doing. Because first of all, it's contagious. It's very good for us. By the way, the
Oh,
neuroscience behind this
absolutely.
is so real. That's why I'm like, it's so embarrassing given my like, you guys, I built and sold companies around this. This is what I did for a very long time. And it's like, no shit, Sabrina. But it's just so true. You're telling yourself, this is what I do. I'm a hype woman. I don't get jealous of other people. I don't judge other people. I'm a hype person. So now you're changing your own like these little pathways in your brain that go, I see something that's a threat and I judge versus I see something that's a threat and I get excited for them. It's no longer a threat. You're wiring your brain differently. Then
Hmm.
other people see this, so there's this thing called a mirror effect. So your brain mirrors what you see other people doing as if you are physically doing it. So now you're rewiring other people's brains and normalizing women supporting women or people supporting people. And then you get them to start doing it because of the mirror exposure effect, which is the more you see something, the more you want to do it, the more you like it. It is so healthy for ourselves, for our hearts, for our psyches, for our brains, for our energy, and it's so healthy for other people. And then on
Hmm.
top of that, so that's one layer. Then it's the people who are doing it and seeing it. Then it's the people who see and do, but maybe don't act on it right away. but their brain is ingesting it. It becomes normalized to them. So there's this magnitude, this sort of force multiplier when we do things like this that literally helps make the world a better place. People go, what can I do? How can I change this? That's how you do it, especially on social media. Because we've got enough of us saying, trolling and saying how
Oh,
ugly and how
absolutely.
dumb and how stupid and how this and it, and I love free speech, so I would never want to take that away. But the impact you're having on yourself and other people and people you don't even know is bigger than you'll ever really be able to quantify, truly, from like
Yeah.
a scientific perspective. So that's awesome. That is so cool and so powerful. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, like you just said, when one person does it and it starts to kind of go, we're already doing that on a negative scale anyway.
That's right.
Right? I mean, we've
Right.
been doing that for years. We've
Yeah.
created
How's that
judgments,
working? Yeah.
we've created these shame spirals for people. We've created the way that we guilt trip people into things. Like we've been doing this. It's
Right.
something that happens on a regular basis. So why not take a completely
Right.
opposite approach and just see what might happen? I mean, here's the
Yeah.
thing, and this was something that I realized was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? That was a
Right.
question that I started asking myself. I still ask myself that to this day. If there's something that I don't want to do, or if I'm like, oh God, what's the worst that's going to
Yeah.
happen? Right. And I think that that's the bigger thing is we're always evaluating and seeing like what is going to be the cost. And
Right.
what I've realized is 99.9% of the time, what you think the cost is, when you actually ask that question and evaluate and like lay out what it could be, it's really not as bad as you think.
Right. That's right. That's exactly it. And Brene Brown talks about even, what's the best that could happen. In my experience, and I've been doing this now for about 4 or 5 years, which I now lovingly call fear forward. It didn't have a name at first. It was just, I'm sick of going to therapy and talking about things. Let's do something about it. But the whole like value of it is exactly what you're talking about. And the implications are so enormous that it's almost a shame when you look back and you go, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I? And so
hmm
I'm so glad you talk about these things because this is how we really change ourselves and the world. This is how we make an impact. And there's real science behind it. It's not just kind of a woo-woo, this feels good. There really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say as a behavioral, no, just kidding. You know
Anyway,
what's
never
really
mind.
funny though is when you learn certain things and you apply it to everyone else, but for some reason you always cut yourself out of the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Lord have mercy. Yes, of course. And you're like, oh shit, I'm doing it too. That's the reality is, when we have big feelings or something really upsets us about something else someone did, like I cannot believe Jessica said that to me, or I cannot believe Alex, did that at work. I promise you, take a beat, there's something that it's telling you. Big feelings are, it's communication, it's language. There's something that it's triggering in you because there's a trait in you that you don't like about you. So usually when we're judging
Mm.
someone else about something, it has to do with something that's triggering us. Yeah. And if you're not sure, ask yourself what it reminds you when you're about 6 to 8 years old. Why am I so pissed that
Ooh.
Alec did this? And then go, who's somebody between I was 6 and 8 who also did this? Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Yeah, yeah, that'll tell you everything you need to know.
And what's so funny too is I've told my boys we've talked about this. Not with that, so I love that, but like I've told them that if you're dealing with someone and someone is acting a certain way and you're like, gosh, they're being so immature. I'm like, think about it. Something has probably happened that caused that one space, whatever it is, to literally not mature in that emotion,
That's
right?
true.
We can,
Yeah.
and I found that really interesting. I cannot remember what I was watching recently, but it was a psychologist I know that was talking about it, and they were talking about how depending on things that we had been through, things that we had experienced, your level of maturity goes up and down with every single one of those things. So there may be some spaces where you are really mature and you know how to handle things, but if there is something that is anywhere close to maybe, like you said, something you experienced like 6 to 8, you like immediately go back to that
Yes.
level of maturity. And I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I never thought about that, right? If you say I'm a
Right.
mature person, you're just like, okay,
Right.
I'm a mature across all levels, and that is
Right.
absolutely not true.
Right. Right. It's like a stock portfolio. There are going to be ebbs and flows based on, what position we're looking at, not to get too nerdy, but it's so true. And there's times the ideal space is when you can integrate your mature, securely attached person, your adult, securely attached person, assuming you help, get there, and then your safe, securely attached 6-year old. So that you don't say, okay, 6-year old, you're over there, I'm going to ignore you. It's that they can integrate and that you can feel
Mm,
safe and be secure and mature in those moments. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of reflection. And that's why it's important to stop and go, why am I so mad? Or why am I so triggered? Or why am I so jealous? Or fill in the blank when I see this person on social media? And what can I do about it? Oh, maybe I'll
yeah.
comment on that and hype them up. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
it's so brilliant. It is so good that you physically went to do it too. There's a lot of science behind how fast that helps evolve our brains and change our perspectives on things. And even how you use new words. Words are so powerful. They're words we're telling ourselves. And yet we sometimes overlook them or let the wrong words in.
Yeah. What's a favorite word outside of fear? That's a given. We can't. What's a favorite word of yours that you feel like you've kind of shifted your belief around?
Ooh, I'll have to really think about that. The first thing that comes to mind now, you and I have talked a lot about this. I mean, I love your perspective on this. It really changed the way I looked at it dramatically. The first word that comes to mind for me is authentic. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I thought I was showing up authentic, but I was a different person in every room. And sometimes with every conversation I was having in every room. And so what that really means, and is it a negative kind of woo-woo word versus like, no, this is a really empowering word. It's a big deal for me to show up
Mm,
authentic. And I want to be able to show up as I truly am. And even if that means getting rejected or, not wanting people I thought otherwise were good for me or that I wanted in my life or in my circle. Um, so that's what comes to mind. But I love your perspective on this so much. I mean, just so much. So what word comes to mind for you?
so mine is courage.
Ooh, okay. Why do you
Yeah.
say that?
So way back when I was getting out of my abusive relationship, you always get people that try to pump you up. And courage was like not even a word that was in my dictionary. And everybody's like, you're so brave, you're so strong. And I always felt completely disconnected from those words. And so I did a deep dive literally like a year and a half ago. And I was like, I need to understand all of these meanings. And the word courage came up. And what I found out was there's a difference between courage and strength. Strength is the capacity to exert something, right? But courage means you have the willingness to face the adversity, the fear, the uncertainty. So you're choosing to step
Yeah.
into it. And I felt like that's really what I was doing when I got out of my situation, when I decided to start my business, when I started public speaking, all of those things that I did. It wasn't because I had the strength to do it, because there was no capacity
Yeah.
to hold
Yeah.
absolutely anything, but it was my willingness to say, you know what? I don't know what's on the other side, but we're
Right.
going to try it. And
Right.
so it's become like my term because I
Yeah.
think that we forget that we always have a choice,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And we let everything else dictate all the things. And so that's a word that really stood out to me, that I have fallen in love with. But it's not how I saw that word, right? Like
Right.
I just saw
Right.
it. I saw courage as the same thing as strength back in the day. But it's tattooed on me now. It says choose courage. But it's become a word that I really lean into because
Right.
it means that we have the choice, just like you're talking about stepping into fear. You have the choice to decide, do you want
Right.
to stay in the fear? Do you want to face the fear? Do you want to try and pretend like it's not there? But
Right.
that's your choice, right?
Right.
It's not that
Right.
it's there and you're like, no, it's telling me I can't. No, you get to decide what you
Right.
want to do with it. It's just sometimes that decision isn't always as easy as we'd like it to be.
And by the way, there's a lot of research behind this. I know we have to wrap soon, but I'll leave you guys with this is there's this thing called internal locus of control versus external locus of control. Um, External is like, why is this happening to me?
Mm,
What are other people going to do about it? It's not my fault. This is happening to me. Your internal locus of control is, no, I can do something about it. What can I do? and there's a lot of research behind people who are more successful, and I'll let you guess which one they do, obviously. Um, Successful financially, successful in friendships, successful in relationships. An internal locus of control is one of the most powerful things you can do to improve your life. And by the way, it's free.
There's the bigger term, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah. No,
it's
truly.
free.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. What part of this can I control? What part of this, what part of my action, what part of my mindset can I control? I mean, truly, if you study any of like major sports teams, all the best athletes, I mean, there's so much research behind this. That is truly the differentiator between people who are millionaires, billionaires, top athletes, authors, everything. Anybody who you want to study and go, okay, how did this group of people really make it? That's exactly how.
Yeah. I totally agree. If you would have told me that several years ago, I'd have been like, "What are you talking
Right.
about?" But I totally agree with that because y- yeah. We we tend, or at least I, again, speaking for like Sabrina said, from my experience, I used to make decisions based off how I thought it was going to make someone else feel or react, or right. Like I put myself in control of things that I literally could not control, right?
Right.
You can't control what somebody thinks about you. You can't control how somebody takes what you said
Right.
personally or in any which way. But I would always put that on myself, right? I'd go to say something, be like, oh, well, if I say it this way, they're probably going to think like I'm not in that person's brain. And I think that was
Right.
probably that's probably one of the most freeing things I have ever done for myself is to put it back on that person. And I tell my
Mhm.
kids that now, like, just know that there are going to be times where you're not going to be able to make that person happy, or you're not going to have whatever you said say sit well. I said, but here's the thing. If you can look back and say, look, I know what I said was not to be mean. It was not to put someone down. It was to be honest and step in my space. I said, then you should feel 100% good
Yeah.
about what you did. Now, the way that they take it is going to be completely on them, and you have to let go of that. But I
Right.
wish that somebody would have told me that at a
Yep.
much younger age.
That's the rule. It's your job to show up as your best, most authentic self, and then it's their job to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
It'll stop your people pleasing so quick. And then
Oh my
just
gosh.
accepting that I don't like everyone. I really had to realize like, no, I don't like everyone. So what on earth? Why would I think everyone has to like me? What? I
Yeah.
mean, who died and made me queen? I mean, really? Actually, I don't want to be queen. Never mind. But you know what I mean? I like,
I'm like, I don't want to be liked by
yeah, never
everybody.
mind, never mind. Too much.
There's,
But truly, they don't have to like me. That's okay. That's all right. You know, there's what, 8 billion people? Yeah, go like
yeah.
someone else, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's enough to go around. It's
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
fine. It's
yeah.
shoo, shoo, shoo. So
Yeah.
tell everybody then, Sabrina. That's become my the shush. It's fine. It's totally fine.
I love that. Yeah.
Just let go of it. So tell everybody then how can they find you? How can they follow you? How can they be in your
Yeah.
world?
Yes, yeah. I by all means, and my DMs are open. You can find me at sabrinashafer.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I post, a lot. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. All Sabrina Shafer, Shafer. And seriously, reach out, share your stories. It is the most authentic, the scariest, the good times, the bad times, the screw ups and the lessons all in one.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing to share now is like when I screw up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Look how dumb look at I missed the mark on this one, gang. And everyone's like, yeah, we saw that coming, Sabrina. And you're like, okay,
Right?
what are you gonna do? Yeah.
Shh, it's
Yeah.
fine. Just every and of course we'll make sure we have all that information in the show notes. We'll make it super easy for you to find and follow Sabrina and be in her world. Please do, right? We need more people like Sabrina in the world that just can be honest. We're all looking for that. And if you need the permission for that, please find more people to follow that are like that because it will change the way that you start seeing things when you start putting that in your feed. So, Sabrina, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me and all you're doing. Seriously,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Yes. Thank you so
You're
much. To everybody else that's
welcome.
out there, oh my gosh, I hope you got some golden nuggets from this. I'm going to leave you with a challenge today, right? Find something in your life that is fearful, that maybe you're holding back from. Doesn't have to be something major. I want you to start super small, right? And then I want you to just can do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. That's all I'm asking. One time, right? And just prove to yourself that whatever it was that you thought was going to make you die, you didn't die from.
Right.
Right? Like
That's
if
right.
you could still breathe, you're fine. You may be a little upset, a little sweaty. It's totally good. Like, that is my challenge to leave you with from this podcast. If you got nothing else out of it, challenge yourself. I think it's one of the healthiest things that we could potentially do. So, Sabrina, thank you so much again for being a part of the podcast.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Yes, to everybody else out there, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable